very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m. The day is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, already almost halfway through the month of May. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. We're going to have rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta's forecast for us. First check coming up right here, right now. Let's take a look at our screen and we'll see what our forecast is. So Mike, I should say Mike has the day off today, and so he's left us. Of course, the ONNJ forecast will always be on and accurate and updated 24 hours a day. You can go to ONNJ.com and just click on the forecast. You'll see it there, and that's how we will get our forecast today. But Mike getting a well-deserved day off. Again, it's just really going to be rainy through much of the state of New Jersey all day today with highs in the mid-60s. In terms of traffic, we have a down tree right now on Route 179 southbound, south of Mount Airy Village Road in West Amwell Township, and all lanes are now closed. The rain will do that. You got a rainy day like this. We have a crash on 195 westbound east of exit 31, which is Route 547 in Howell Township. One left lane of the two lanes closed. And we have a crash on the Atlantic City Expressway westbound between exit 44, which is Route 168, and the western terminus, Route 42 in Washington Township. Now get this. This is for those of you headed to Atlantic City. All lanes on the Atlantic City Expressway are now closed and detoured, and move over for emergency vehicles. Traffic has been diverted to exit 44, and that will continue to exit 42 northbound. So the Atlantic City Expressway is a mess right now, an absolute mess. You're asked to avoid that, please, while they do their work and then eventually their investigation. There is a disabled tractor trailer on the New Jersey Turnpike outer roadway south of the exit ramp by the Thomas Edison service area in Woodbridge Township. The ramp is partially blocked. And we have a crash right now on the Garden State Parkway southbound, south of exit 58, Little Egg Harbor Township. All lanes are open, but there is a vehicle on the left shoulder. A water main break on 109 northbound, south of Randolph Avenue in Woodbridge. And we also have a EMS activity and a vehicle off the roadway. And that is in, that is on the Garden State Parkway express lanes northbound south of 117, Route 36 in Hazlitt Township. All lanes are open. And we're told there are delays on 495 eastbound from 1 and 9 in North Bergen Township to Pleasant Avenue in Weehawken. That is by the Helix. All lanes are open, but it's just very, very slow. And let's take a look, if we could, at the 8095 approach to the GWB. You can see that's about 35 to 40 minutes when it moves at that speed at that point. Yesterday, as you recall, if you watched yesterday, this is exactly what it was at this point yesterday. Then within half an hour it came to a dead stop, and then half an hour later, there wasn't a car on the road. Everybody was flying into Manhattan. It was crazy, but this is where it is right now, about 35 to 40 minutes in. The Lincoln and the Holland each have about 20 to 25 minutes. Our time now is 7:04, and we had a tragic house fire in Washington Township, New Jersey, that we've been reporting on. Well, it's now been ruled a murder-suicide by the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office. Early Sunday, police and firefighters responded to a blaze on Tranquility Court, of all things. It was called Tranquility Court, where a man believed to be the tenant was found dead in the living room with a handgun. His death was ruled a suicide. A woman found on a bed died from a gunshot wound to the head before the fire. Accelerant and a tampered gas line were discovered. Neighbors expressed shock, and the investigation continues. Anyone with information on this is urged to contact the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office. But again, that Washington Township fire and explosion now ruled a homicide-suicide. It is 7:05. Newark Liberty International Airport faced delays Monday night as only 3 air traffic controllers were scheduled hourly at a Philadelphia radar center, TRACON, far below the target of 14. They only had 3 people, that according to the FAA. The staffing shortage, coupled with ongoing runway construction and recent technical issues, has slowed flights, frustrating travelers. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy insists safety remains the priority, with traffic management measures in place. The FAA is grappling with a national controller shortage, and experts say while safety isn't compromised, delays are likely to persist. But one thing Secretary Duffy did talk about yesterday was during the Biden administration, over a period of 4 years, we had, for the most part, in fact, almost the entire time, except for the last year, really, we had COVID. We had air flights down 90% in some cases. What better time on God's earth when they were approving $1.3 trillion in spending for one thing and $1.2 trillion. They just had an open checkbook, anything you wanted. So during that time, you had an inexperienced Mayor Pete, who was in charge of the Department of Transportation, who, by the way, let me remind you, was so politically correct that he had to make sure the world knew he was gay. And I say this as a gay man. The world had to know that he was gay and politically correct. And the minute he got the position, literally, before he even started on the job, he had to take 3 months paternity leave because he and his husband had to go get a baby. In fact, they got 2 babies. And they decided to do it literally at the start of the administration because that took priority over the United States of America so that the gay man can take off and have a baby. And what ended up happening? We were in the thick of COVID. The whole country was on shutdown, on lockdown. And this was the perfect time to take a look and revamp our transportation system. We spent trillions of dollars. They were approved on infrastructure. What is the air traffic control system but infrastructure? Do you know how many infrastructure laws and bills the Democrats made sure they passed over the years? Where the hell did all that money go, Democrats? I don't see highways going great when you have sinkholes on I-80 all over the place. And now we have an air traffic control system that is 50, 60 years outdated using floppy disks. So I think there needs to be an investigation into why Mayor Pete and President Biden did nothing to modernize the air traffic control system during COVID. The only time potentially in the history of humanity that the air around us would be shut down to air traffic, it would have been the ideal time to shut down the system, build a new computer system, and have a brand new air traffic control system. But no, I'd love to find out where the trillions of dollars of your tax dollars and mine got spent by the Democrats during that 4-year period. Somebody has got to investigate that. Speaking of infrastructure, Route 80 faces new disruptions after a collapsed sewer basin opened a hole near exit 37 in Rockaway, closing 2 eastbound lanes since Monday. At first, we thought it was another sinkhole. It's a sewer basin. So still the same problem. It's a hole in the road, but it's caused by what? Negligence and poor caring, as opposed to just having a hole that was buried over by people who probably took a couple of bucks and looked the other way when they approved the construction of an interstate highway over abandoned iron mines. The New Jersey DOT expects repairs to wrap up by tonight, but the closure just 4 miles from ongoing sinkhole repairs in Wharton is fraying people's nerves. Local Mariana Zamora said that it took 2 hours to drive her special needs son to school, highlighting the stress for residents. Sinkholes from old iron mines have plagued I-80 now since December, with repairs expected to continue into the summer. So this has been 6 months. And let me just say again, this is what happens when you have a Democrat state government. This is what happens because you just simply do not have people working to their maximum capacity. You have unions involved. Every time we take a look at I-80's camera, we see a lot of cars there and we don't see a hell of a lot of work. So there are people very upset right now that it has been 6 months since this started and the road is still not open. Unacceptable. Next time you go into a voting booth and you see a D or an R and you keep voting D because my father, my grandfather, they all voted D. Think about that. It is 7:10. In a New Jersey courtroom, emotions ran high as Edward Johnson, a drunk driver, allegedly was, and now no longer allegedly, sentenced for killing 8-year-old Javier Velez in a 2023 crash. Johnson was driving 107 miles an hour and struck the boy's parked car during a family fishing trip in Absecon. Javier's mother, Kayla Smith, brought his ashes to court, vowing to keep his memory alive. Her advocacy inspired Javi's Law, which aims at detaining similar offenders and suspending their licenses. The bipartisan bill has Senate support and could reach the governor's desk by January. It is 7:10. Chemical giant 3M will pay New Jersey up to $450 million to settle claims of PFAS contamination in Salem and Middlesex counties. PFAS are those contaminants you get that literally do not go away. So if you have a Teflon pan, remember the Teflon pans years ago? As you would scrape the pan, you get the little flecks that came off the pan. Those are PFAS, and those are chemicals that stay. They don't disappear. They literally get into the water system, and if you look at the bottom of all the reservoirs, you'll see fragments of that. It stays there forever, and it's potentially toxic. So this $450 million is the state's largest settlement. Attorney General Matthew Platkin called it an historic win, holding polluters accountable for tainting water with these forever chemicals linked to cancer and developmental issues. Do we have the SOT, Pam? Okay. Okay. It said here SOT, so this was a Gerald. All right. The settlement addressing contamination near DuPont's Deepwater and Sayreville plants lets 3M avoid a trial set for next week. New Jersey officials vow to continue pursuing other companies responsible for PFAS pollution across the state. 7:12 now in Camden. Peter Coker Jr., a key figure in the $100 million New Jersey deli fraud case, was sentenced to 40 months in prison for securities fraud. Coker Jr., attacked by inmates while detained in a Thai prison in 2023, expressed deep regret for inflating the stock prices of a small Paulsboro deli and a shell company. His father, Peter Coker Sr., received 6 months in jail and a $500,000 fine. The scheme, which misled investors, including Duke and Vanderbilt universities, caused nearly $5 million in losses. Netflix has broken ground on a $1 billion state-of-the-art production hub at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, transforming the 292-acre former U.S. Army site into an East Coast filmmaking center. The facility will feature 12 sound stages spanning nearly 500,000 square feet and will create thousands of jobs. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos says the project will generate billions in economic impact. Demolition begins soon, with the studio set to open in 2028, pending further approvals. Let's take a listen.
But while the film and TV industry in New Jersey was down, it was never out. And now it's coming back in a very big way. Over the last few years, Netflix has filmed movies and series here like Office Romance, Happy Gilmore 2 with Adam Sandler, The Beast in Me, The Rip. I mean, phenomenal. We've got 7 productions actually happening right now in New Jersey as we speak.
And after today's groundbreaking, as Ted alluded to, those good-paying jobs are soon to follow. Because as we start building the 12 state-of-the-art sound stages that will serve as the centerpiece for this new facility, we will be relying on New Jersey's construction workers, laborers, electricians, carpenters, sheet metal workers, teamsters, plumbers, pipe fitters, and more.
Well, demolition will begin soon, with the studio set to open in 2028, pending any further approvals. This marks Netflix's latest expansion alongside hubs in New Mexico, Los Angeles, and beyond. But Hollywood is just not getting what they used to get. Now it's going all over the place because liberals in California made it nearly impossible to do business there. Liberals will never learn. And my warning to Netflix, not that they need my advice, but you have a Democrat administration right now that's probably cutting you a deal. But just watch, future Democrat administrations in this state will look to come and tax the hell out of you. Just my advice to Democrats, don't do that, because you will lose your movie industry that you have now fostered. 7:14 at the Jersey Shore. Beach access comes with a price, and in Deal, it's getting steeper. The borough is now charging $200 for a seasonal beach pass, far above Asbury Park's $70 or Belmar's $80. Daily rates and deal for summer 2025 are also up at $12 weekdays and $15 weekends compared to last year's $10 and $12. Fees help fund lifeguards, beach maintenance, and crowd control, but deal's high costs are raising eyebrows. Children 11 and under still enter free as towns balance revenue and public access. Let me just point something out again to our liberal friends in New Jersey who just don't seem to get it. I live half of the year in Florida, broken up throughout the year. In Florida, there isn't a beach that is inaccessible or that costs you money. You could drive up to any beach and walk on, no matter where you are in the entire state of Florida, because there's an old rule that goes back to pre-Roman times that basically says the shoreline is free. It belongs to everybody. So I know that, think about this, back in the day, little towns in New Jersey came up with charging these fees to, quote, keep the riffraff out. That's what they wanted. They wanted to keep minorities out, and they wanted to keep the commoners, and they wanted to keep the day trippers from New York out. So they imposed fees. It wasn't to pay for the lifeguards. Lifeguards cost about $20,000, $30,000 for the summer. It wasn't for that. It was to keep the riffraff out. Okay. Now and you don't think the deal, which has a beautiful beach, is upping the price? You think that they're paying their lifeguards $150,000 a year? It is what it is, and it should be illegal to charge anything to come to the beach. It should be a free thing, no matter where you are. It's a matter of figuring out parking, but that's for the town to build some parking lots and let people have parking. They do it in other cities. They do it in other states. New Jersey, don't be a whore when it comes to beaches and parking. Just saying. Otherwise, everybody, you know what? If I'm going to pay $200 for a season pass, I'll go to the Hamptons. It's much prettier there. Okay. Why pay $200 to drive in 2 hours of traffic on the Jersey Shore? Just saying. 5 New Jersey towns have been named among the top 100 best places to live in the U.S. by Niche's 2025 rankings. Hohokus ranks 34th, praised for its schools and family-friendly vibe. Princeton follows at 35th, noted for its restaurants and parks. Ridgewood at 65th excels in education, while River Edge at 71st offers a small town feel. Princeton Junction, which is beautiful, rounds out the list at 79th, lauded for parks and job opportunities. All 5 earned A+ grades, showcasing New Jersey's appeal for families and professionals. And while we're in that area of Princeton, right next door, 2 Robbinsville Township police officers are being hailed as heroes after they saved a dog from drowning in a backyard pool Saturday. Patrolman James Pica and Michael Slininger quickly rescued the struggling pet and found another dog in the yard. The grateful owner, whose dogs had escaped earlier, personally thanked the officers at the police station that night. And staying on the New Jersey theme, of course, former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, convicted last year on bribery charges, is likely still collecting his congressional pension despite federal laws aimed at stripping such benefits from corrupt lawmakers. Menendez, set to begin an 11-year prison sentence in June, is exploiting loopholes tied to his ongoing appeals and the timing of his July 2024 conviction, which predates a key pension reform law. The National Taxpayers Union Foundation estimates his annual pension at over $71,000 a year. We'll be getting that while he's in prison, highlighting gaps in accountability for convicted officials. 7:18 right now. When we come back, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will have the latest on New Jersey's political scene with the Inside Edge. Rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta tells us that in the full Garden State forecast, and we'll take calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:21. We're taking calls at 888-658-0234. Rain today, highs in the mid 60s. Let's take a look at the entire Garden State forecast. And our meteorologist, Mike Favetta, has the day off, so he leaves us with his weather prep, and that is his forecast for the day. Basically, rain for the state the entire day, top to bottom, temps in the mid 60s. Let's take a look at traffic right now. The Garden State Parkway, we have kind of messy go. This is on the Garden State mile marker 136.8 south of exit 136. And Pam, our great director, and I, we've been figuring out what that is there, where the vehicle is. I at first thought it was debris from an earlier accident. Pam says, no, it looks like there's a wall there, could be construction debris. So I'll go 50-50. How about this, Pam? How about there's construction debris and there's debris from an earlier accident? I'll just say both, because I don't know what that is, but you can see clearly there's a vehicle there, and a lot of people tapping their brakes as they go past that. So this is by exit 136 on the Garden State Parkway southbound. So just to give you a heads up on that. A lot of issues on the roadways because of the rain that we have and some patchy fog. We have a downed tree on Route 179 southbound south of Route 603, which is Mount Airy Village Road in West Amwell Township. All lanes are closed. A disabled tractor trailer on the Turnpike outer roadway southbound exit ramp by Thomas Edison service area in Woodbridge with a partial ramp blockage. We have a crash on the Garden State Parkway southbound south of exit 58, so that's way down south in southern New Jersey. That's in Little Egg Harbor Township. All lanes are open, but there is a vehicle on the left shoulder causing rubbernecking delays. Water main break on 109 northbound south of Randolph Avenue in Woodbridge with the right lane of 2 lanes closed. EMS activity and a vehicle off the roadway Garden State Parkway express lanes northbound south of exit 117, Route 36 in Hazlet Township. Delays on Route 3 eastbound from west of Route 17 to Park Avenue in Rutherford. All lanes are open, but a very slow go there. And we have delays on the Garden State Parkway northbound from south of exit 145, I-280 in East Orange to north of exit 150. So that's a 5-mile stretch of delays, and that's only going about 5 miles an hour. So from exit 145 to 150 on the Garden State Parkway, bumper to bumper, and that's all due to weather. We also have the approach to the GWB upper and lower levels. That is I-80-95 approach. Technically, that's I-95 at that point. They call it the 80-95 approach because I-80 ends just before those signs. and just merges into I-95, and that's what connects you all the way to San Francisco. But as you look right here, you can see it's about a 40-minute cross time into Manhattan, which is actually not too bad for a rainy morning. Now I've jinxed it. And we got 25 minutes at both the Lincoln and the Holland as you make your way in. Ongoing road work also still going on I-80 east and westbound through exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton, and nearby as well. They just had that issue with a water basin repair. There was another hole that just opened up a couple of miles away in the vicinity of exit 34 as well. So that whole stretch is a mess. It's going to be a while before that gets fixed. They're saying they want to open up 2 westbound lanes in the next week. Don't hold your breath. It is 7:26. It's now time for Politics from Trenton, explained like no one else can do it. Here's New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 14th. Welcome to the Inside Edge. And, I wasn't surprised yesterday when I checked the ELEC website and found that despite all the bluster and the swagger and the rhodomontade, at the end of the day, it looks like Mario Kranjak was just full of crap. Mario joined the race for the Republican nomination for governor in early February with a fairly tiny base. He'd spent 2 terms as the mayor of Englewood Cliffs, a town in Bergen County of about 5,300 people, and he billed himself as a forever Trumper and called himself a Trumpy mayor. And the word was that Kranjak could raise money, that as an attorney, he was said to be Newt Gingrich's lawyer, as a venture capitalist, that Mario would soon prove himself to be a prodigious fundraiser, maybe even a self-funder, at least to some degree. And there was talk that he'd be a game changer. And there was speculation, there's zero evidence, that he was in the race to take MAGA votes away from Bill Spadea, something that would undoubtedly help Jack Ciattarelli. But there were warning signs that this entire campaign was just smoke and mirrors. 5 weeks into his candidacy, he emerged from the Bergen County Republican Convention, his home county, and received just 66 votes, so less than 12%, even though Spadea and Bramnick and Durr had declined to participate. And 2 weeks after that, Mario didn't even qualify for matching funds. He didn't even write himself a $580,000 personal check to get himself into the 2 gubernatorial debates. For a man that wealthy, funny as it seems, that's not a lot of money. And he barely made it on the ballot, barely got enough petition signatures to survive a legal challenge. And so Kranjak sort of lurked around the periphery of this race. That was until yesterday, when he was exposed by the numbers, because numbers, they don't lie. He'd raised just $103,000. He'd given himself a $5,800 contribution. That's no John Corzine. His law firm kicked in just $20,000. Not serious enough money to mount a real campaign for the state assembly, yet alone a campaign for governor. But yesterday, Mario doubled down and said he was going to somehow convince Donald Trump to endorse 2 candidates in the same race. Not on $133,000, he's not. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you for listening, and I will be back tomorrow.
Very good, David. Thank you, sir. It is 7:30, fresh off an arrest at the Delaney Hall ICE facility. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka is gaining ground in the Democratic gubernatorial primary with a new internal poll showing him trailing Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill by just 4 points, 20.7% to 16.5%. Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop follows at 12.9%. The poll, conducted after Baraka's arrest outside an ICE facility in Newark last Friday, reflects a surge from March when Sherrill led by 2 points. conducted by MDW Communications with 1,100 voters. The poll has a 3.5% margin of error. Baraka's campaign is touting the results as momentum builds. 7:31, Governor Phil Murphy announced that he will not endorse a candidate in next month's Democratic gubernatorial primary. 6 Democrats, including Representatives Mikey Sherrill and Josh Gottheimer, whom we mentioned, are vying to replace the term-limited governor. Murphy, speaking at a Netflix studio groundbreaking at Oceanport, we played him earlier, said that he has no plans to get involved. Over 100,000 Democrats have already voted for the primaries by mail. 7:31, in Essex County, live bird market. Who knew that we had them? I didn't know that we had live bird markets. It was the scene of a case of bird flu. As a result, 1,400 living birds had to be euthanized, and the market had to be shut down by officials. The New Jersey Animal Health Diagnostic Lab was doing routine testing when they discovered the infected bird back on May 6th. I'm 58. Pam, you're around. Have you ever heard of an open bird market in the United States? Never in your life, never in my life. So it's happening, and especially at a time when there's bird flu. Why? Well, the market cannot reopen until the government lifts the quarantine on the market. So far, it does not appear that any human was infected. But remember, the leap of bird flu from bird to human is that big. If the human also has human flu and happens to then get infected with the virus that is bird flu, there is a chance the 2 viruses can mutate together. They kind of splice their DNA, and that's how a human can get infected with bird flu. They have to already have had human flu in them and then be exposed to bird flu, and it could happen. So that's why, so far, so good, but that's how it happens. It is 7:32. By the way, Shakira, do you have tickets to the Shakira concert at MetLife Stadium this week? It's on Thursday and Friday night. Well, I hope you have a ride to get there and get home, because New Jersey Transit announced there's not going to be any rail or bus service to the stadium during Thursday or Friday because of the potential rail strike. Rail engineers could walk off the job as early as midnight Friday. That means Thursday night into Friday morning as negotiations continue. That means that if somebody shows up on NJ Transit, they may get there, but thousands may not have a way to get back. So NJ Transit didn't want to transport all those people only to leave them stranded, which is a good thing. Thank you for thinking ahead. But a strike could very well occur. So beware and don't think, oh, just get an Uber, because you and 40,000 other people are going to do the same thing. You might want to talk with an actual human being and confirm that you have a ride to and from. Tenafly native Eden Alexander is now together with his family after he spent more than 19 months as a hostage. The now 21-year-old was released to the Red Cross on Monday and was quickly returned to his family. Alexander is an Israeli-American soldier who was kidnapped from his base during the October 7th attack. Hamas released Alexander in response to demands from the Trump administration. It was not clear when Alexander would return to New Jersey, though. Amazingly, the very same Democrats who protested outside a Newark migrant facility demanding the release of criminal illegal aliens, many of them murderers, rapists, and the like, those same Democrats were entirely silent as Hamas terrorists were holding this then 19-year-old U.S. citizen hostage at gunpoint. Look at the priorities of our Democrats. Just shows that they have an agenda, and you, being an American citizen, are not part of it. Finally, Eric and Lyle Menendez are now eligible for parole after spending 35 years behind bars for murdering both of their parents. The brothers appeared in Los Angeles County Superior Court yesterday, where Judge Michael Jessic reduced their sentences from life without parole to 50 years to life. What's the difference? Well, that means that now, because of the youthful offender law in California, if you commit a crime under the age of 26, you are eligible for parole. So they, the brothers, could technically, at the next parole review, they could be released. And that could happen in the next few weeks. Just think about how brutally they murdered their parents. No matter what happened, it does not justify taking a shotgun. The 2 of them took shotguns and literally blew their parents to smithereens, into multiple pieces. At one point, the mother was grabbing for the carpet and they blew her hand off. This is not, and then, by the way, then they took the parents' money and went partying for 3 weeks, drugging and drinking and buying expensive cars. So this isn't just a couple of nice, good boys who maybe had a run-in with their parents. The only reason this came to pass is because of the documentary on Netflix and because of a now out of office, very liberal LA district attorney, Gascon, who wanted to let the cute boys out because he was looking to get reelected. Turns out it didn't work for him. It backfired. But this is what happens again with the liberals of California. 7:35, Pam, let's not go to break. Let's do a little weather check right now. Our meteorologist, Mike Favetta, is on vacay today, but he tells us we're going to have rain, highs in the mid-60s, and this is his full Garden State forecast with his weather prep. And once again, meteorologist Mike Favetta has the day off. You could check his weather prep, which is our weather prep, because it's on ONNJ.com. If you go to ONNJ.com and you click on weather, you will see the full Garden State forecast, updated 24/7, 365. So you will get the up to the second forecast at ONNJ.com anytime you'd like. It's very easy and extremely accurate, and I use it on my phone all the time. 7:37, we take a look at traffic right now. We have a down tree on Route 179 southbound. That's Mount Airy Village Road in West Amwell Township. All lanes are closed. Crash on the GSP southbound south of exit 58, Little Egg Harbor Township, with all lanes open but a vehicle on the shoulder. And the 8095 approach to the GWB, not too bad, actually, considering the rain on the roadways right now. We have about a 35 to 40 minute approach. We could take a look at 8095 if we have it. This is the upper and lower level. Actually, wow, that really lightened up. We said this was going to happen, Pam, didn't we say this? We said at 7:05 that in a half an hour, based on yesterday, that it lightens up. And take a look. The left is the lower level, the right is the upper level. That's actually about 25 minutes. So my info is probably a few minutes old. And that's a good approach. If you want to go into Manhattan, now's your chance. It is now 7:38, and the race for New Jersey's next governor is certainly heating up, and all eyes are on the upcoming primary debates on May 18th and May 20th. On New Jersey, in partnership with the New Jersey Globe and Rider University, will produce and stream these critical showdowns live from Newark, New Jersey's largest city. Joining us now is my good friend Gerald D'Ambra. I say D'Ambra, Gerald, because an Italian say that. D'Ambra, who is co-founder of ONNJ New Jersey, to share how, we don't care how you pronounce it in your family, I'm just pronouncing it my selfish way, to share how they are preparing to bring these pivotal debates to voters across the Garden State. Gerald, thanks for being here. And I love the fact that you, as co-founder of ONNJ New Jersey, and it's not just because you're a friend and I'm working with you, but this is a whole different approach. You're presenting these debates available to anyone, which is not done by other broadcast entities. So tell us about this and how we got this and how we're moving forward.
So we were awarded the debates through ELEC, and what we wanted to do is make the debates as available to everyone as possible. So we're streaming it on all of our ONNJ platforms. So Roku, News On, our website, everywhere that you find us, you'll see the debates, but then also on the New Jersey Globe and all of our social platforms. Now, one of the other things that we're doing is we're making the debate available to any news organization that wants to carry it live. We will not only, we're not going to tell them, go grab our YouTube feed. We'll work with any news organization who would like to take this, and we'll give them a feed. Because the goal here is to get the information out to the voters. So we want to make it as available as possible to everyone. And the great thing about streaming is that it's available on your device. So you don't need to find a channel. It's really, really simple. It's going to be on your social feed, or just go to ONNJ.com and it's right there.
And if any other broadcast entity, and you and I have worked for many of them, if any other broadcast entity were hosting this, they would have their logos burned everywhere. And if you wanted to carry it, like CNN did, when CNN had the presidential debates, it had to be called the CNN presidential debate. And everybody who carried it had to call it the CNN presidential debate with the logo, CNN. So NBC, CBS, ABC all had to have the CNN on there. Look, I get it. They're a corporation. They exist not as a public gift, but to make money. I get that. But ONNJ is, again, this is a very different approach. It's you're literally serving the public interest in the way that broadcasting traditionally did many years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to extend it out to, all aspects of public viewing. So we're also going to have closed captioning available, and we're also going to have a Spanish translation via closed captioning available as well. So all of that will be listed wherever you see the live debate. There will be links to have, directly to the caption, directly to the Spanish version. So the goal here is really just to get this to be as available to people as possible. And it's not just a debate, though, Ken. I mean, this is a long debate. It's a 2.5-hour debate. So we're really, really going to dive deep into the issues, but we're making it an entire event. So it's not only the actual debate is being held in Newark at the Donald Payne Technology School. Essex County is our host for we're going to be in this beautiful 800-seat auditorium, but we're also going to have an incredible pre-show hosted by you, and you'll be there live hosted by our own Ken Rosato. So Ken, you'll be there live to get us ready to see the candidates arrive, to get the impression of voters and people who are in the audience and how are they feeling about the candidates and what they want to hear and what issues are important to them. So we're going to dive into all of that. We're also going to see what it takes to put this debate together. So our Lisa Marie Falbo is actually going to be there with a camera, and she's going to capture what does this take to get all this together. So we'll be able to see that as well. After the debate, you'll be back. We're going to break down what happened. And then we're also going to have a gaggle where each candidate will come to the mic and have 5 minutes with the press. We're going to air that. And it's something that you don't see happen after other debates. Usually the press is not allowed inside with their cameras. Well, we're inviting them in. Come on in and be part of the gaggle. Ask your questions. We'll air that live. And we're also have invited Sean Spiller to the Democrat debate on Sunday. Now, he did not qualify as per ELEC rules to be part of this debate, but we invited him to be part of the gaggle since he's still a candidate, and he'll have his 5 minutes up there. He'll be able to talk to the press. He'll be able to watch the debate if he likes. So we want to make this accessible to absolutely everyone. That's our goal here.
For those who don't realize, Sean Spiller, one of the rules is you had to raise a certain amount of money from the constituents. Sean did not raise that money from the constituents. He got most of the money because he's head of the teachers union, and the teachers union amazingly were very generous with their donations and gave a fortune to Sean Spiller to run, because naturally, and this is think about this, the teachers union, of course, wants state government to take care of their contracts. So of course it would be in their best interest that somebody who is a friend to them would get elected governor. But listen, the teachers union still represents the people. So it's just one level apart from the people. So it does happen that way. And Sean Spiller is a very eloquent speaker. It's going to be interesting to hear him debate, former mayor of Montclair. The debates are set for, again, the 18th for the Democrats, which is Sunday, and the 20th for the Republicans at the Donald M. Payne Senior School of Technology in Newark. So why was that venue chosen, Gerald? And what's the significance for these debates there?
Well, the first debates that we did in February were hosted at Rider University, wonderful location in central Jersey. We wanted to mix it up this time, and Essex County had offered their facility, and we went and we checked it out, and they've been an amazing partner in this entire process. So when you're selecting a venue, you want to find somewhere that can incorporate a big audience, and you don't see an audience at other debates. So we have an audience. We'll probably have 600 to 700 people in the auditorium watching this debate. And so that's going to be really exciting as a live event. It is a beautiful facility. It is modern. We have the infrastructure that's needed to be able to bring our production equipment in and produce a very high quality debate here. So Essex County is really making it very easy for us to come in and do something like that. They're very, very open to all of our needs, and it just worked out to be a great partnership there. We're very, very pleased, very happy to have them as our partner in this.
It's going to be interesting to hear the different boos and applause and jeers and hoots and hollers from the audience. But that a lot of networks don't want that.
Right.
But why? We want to hear. We want to hear because, again, these specifically in this case, it's going to be a mostly Democrat audience on Sunday and a mostly Republican audience on Tuesday. So these are Republicans who are going to be contradicting or supporting other Republicans, and the same for the Democrats. So it'll be interesting to see the different factions of the Democrats and Republicans with their respective candidates and what their reactions are to certain topics. It's a good way to kind of gauge the pulse of certain things, because not every Republican agrees on everything and not every Democrat agrees on everything. This is why we have primaries.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of Democrats tell me this is really the first real Democrat primary that we've had since the 1970s. So, in all of these years, we really haven't seen a huge field of candidates like we're seeing today. We're seeing 5 candidates on stage. Can you think back to a race where we had 5 candidates on stage for the gubernatorial primary? I don't think we did. And so this is very, very contested. You have 2 members of Congress running. It's going to be really interesting because it's anyone's for the taking right now, and that's what makes these debates so pivotal. So important is getting information out to the voters. It's an amazing opportunity. The primary election is on June 10th. So we're right just weeks before the election, and this is a great last-ditch effort to kind of reach the voters, give them an opportunity to compare and contrast all of the candidates on stage. And I encourage people to, look, they're long debates. I encourage you to check in. If watching a long debate is not your thing, I get it. A lot of people love this and they'll watch it twice, but check in, see how these candidates interact, look at their personalities, listen to some of what they have to say, listen to both sides, because we don't know which side's going to win here. So it'd be interesting for you to kind of just get an understanding of who are the people that are running and, why do I need to go to the polls on the 10th? And that's a big part of the goal here, is to get people out to vote on the 10th, support their candidate, and let's get to general election candidates here who can go head to head.
And, I mean, we've had a wonderful partnership you've helped put together here with the New Jersey Globe, our good friend David Wildstein there, Rider University, Essex County, with Save Jersey also sponsoring the Republican debate. So These collaborations are essential because everybody supports New Jersey in their own way and serves New Jersey in their own way. So how are these collaborations shaping the production? Because everybody will have a certain say in this, and the quality experience for the viewers.
Well, I think everyone brings a different experience with them. I mean, with David Wildstein and his team from the Globe, they bring a tremendous amount of political experience. They know insider politics like no one else in this state. I mean, if you want to know something that's going on, I'm surprised every day at what David Wildstein publishes on the ONNJ Globe. I look at an article almost every day and say, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. I mean, there was just an election, I believe, yesterday, municipal election. So he has just an incredible wealth of information. So he brings that and has an understanding of what the issues are because he lives it every single day. And he hears from not only the elected officials, but he's hearing from people who are involved in politics, and he's hearing from the public as well. What are the issues? What's important? And that's going to help. That's what's helping us to build this debate and what topics that we're focusing on. Micah Rasmussen from Rider University is also on the panel. We have David Wildstein is on the panel, as well as Joey Fox from the New Jersey Globe. He's the congressional correspondent. So Joey is in DC every single day talking to our members of Congress about issues that affect us here. So he brings an incredible amount of experience and understanding of what's going on. And then, of course, you have Micah, who runs, who is with Rider University. Micah has an incredible background in politics. He was Jim McGreevy's spokesperson and head of communications. So he has a great understanding of really what these candidates need to do, what they need to say. And he brings an incredible perspective of, being in the governor's office to help us draft and pull together our questions and our topics. So it's a great team, and I think you'll see it in the final production.
And the good thing is you were a TV news reporter, executive producer now. And of course, drawing on your experience, that helped, of course, make the debates perfect for the viewer at home. I mean, when you have all the groups we just talked about, they're interested in the politics, or they're interested in the background and little secret information, et cetera. But you know how to make it look like television. So yes. What did you draw upon from your experience when you were plotting all this out? Because this is a big undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to make it exciting. It's not just about talking about the debates. The production is really important, and it can't be boring, because you want to engage the viewer. So that's why we have you on, Ken, in the pre-show to help build up the debate and really talk about and get people excited about what we're going to see that night, and hear from all of the people coming in to the debates. And we're going to see the candidates walking in, and we're going to see their walk up to into the building. It's going to be a real build up of excitement to get us to that debate, where then we're going to hit all of the big topics. We're going to go in depth, and we're going to give them the opportunity to really speak. Because I think what you see with a lot of debates is a lot of back and forth, and you don't really hear a lot of substance. So the point here is, let's get to the substance. And then when we're done, let's break it down. Let's hear from the candidates about what their experience was, and let's hear from the audience who was there. So there's so many moving parts here. It's going to be really exciting. I'm going to tell you, being on site there, it's incredibly exciting to produce something like this. There's so many moving parts, and you never know what's going to happen. And we've seen that in debates in the past year. You never know what's going to happen there. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an exciting night, exciting 2 nights, actually. And we're going to make some great television.
So many people think, well, what's the big deal about it? They show up, they walk in. You cannot discount how important a person's confidence, their swagger, their look of control, that cannot be discounted. People look at every little nuance. If somebody looks sharp, looks professional.
Think about an NFL game. You see the quarterbacks walk up before most NFL games, and you can tell, does he look confident? And what's going on with him? And it really tells you a lot when you see people walk in. You're also going to see supporters there, and we want to see how supporters react. So there's a lot of good television that's going to happen in and around this debate.
And you have on the Democrat side 5. It's a crowded field. You have Ross Baraka, Newark's mayor, Steve Fulop, who's Jersey City's mayor, Josh Gottheimer, who's a congressman, Mikey Sherrill, congresswoman. And Mikey brings a slate of experience, too, from her military background. And then you have Steve Sweeney as well. So this is a crowded group. But that's what's great about giving that 2.5 hour amount of time, so that people really will get their time on camera.
And they're really seasoned. These are really seasoned elected officials. They are seasoned politicians. So they're all very good on both sides. They're all very, very good at what they do. They're all excellent speakers. And I think this long format is really going to give us the opportunity to hear some substance. And I think, you're going to have some news that night about what some of these candidates say. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
And then on the Republican side, it will be interesting because now you're down to
Three.
three. And now we have the president of the United States giving a full-throated endorsement of one of
Yes.
them, Jack Ciattarelli. The TV commercials are running crazy right now. But at this point, everyone thinks it's a fait accompli for Jack Ciattarelli because of the endorsement, but you never know. And of course, John Bramnick, who has traditionally been the never Trumper, who now has moderated that view a little bit. So you have a lot of never Trumper Republicans in the state of New Jersey. So there's somebody for everybody in the state among the Republican three that are going to be up there.
I have to say, John Bramnick is a comedian, and our friend David Wildstein asked him about the endorsement. And I thought this was an excellent response where he says, I saw the endorsement and I'm still voting for myself. So, and he look, if he delivers it, it's going to be a lot better because I'm not a comedian, but it's interesting to see, people have really taken sides in the Republican primary, and it's the undecideds right now, and that we need to reach and get out to the polls and vote for one of these three candidates. And it's going to be really interesting to see. I think both of them bring a tremendous amount of interest. You have also Ross Baraka with the recent arrest at the ICE facility. So there's just so much going on with these candidates. And now let's get them all in a room and let's get them to talk to each other. And you decide out there who is going to be your nominee. And that's the best part of this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Ross Baraka, intended to be arrested. That was part of it. He went out there telling people he was going to get arrested, and then later says, "Oh, I'm shocked I was arrested. I did nothing to get arrested." Well, yeah, okay, whatever. This is part of the, sick for all my years as a TV news anchor and TV news reporter, 25 years, 30 years in New York. And Ross Baraka, when he came on the scene, you only see Ross when he's running for something. I'm sorry. His dad was an activist in New Jersey. The name was there. Baraka was an established name in New York. And then Ross came on the scene. And so he's, if anyone thinks that there wasn't some premeditation on Ross Baraka's part when he went up, and I'm not asking your opinion. You stay neutral on this, obviously, but this is Ken's opinion. You'd be a little less than honest with yourself if you don't think that there was some purpose there. But the reason I say this is I think you have Democrats and Republicans doing things that they're convinced that their constituents will love. And when you have somebody like a Ross Baraka or any of the candidates on the left in the primary, they are trying to run as far to the left as possible to get primary voters to support them. But then they have the problem of trying to come to the center. Same thing with the Republicans. You have the people going to the right as much as they can. But hey, New Jersey, even though it looks like it's kind of supporting Trump now, New Jersey is very purple. So now they too will have to come toward the center. So it'll be very interesting to see post-debate, whoever looks like they come up ahead, how they'll win or lose in the primaries, et cetera. And then when it comes to the general election, that's when it really comes down to a wire.
Exactly. And I think we're going to find out on Sunday and on Tuesday. Really, we'll find out on June 10th which of those issues were most important to New Jersey voters. I mean, we have ideas of what New Jersey voters are interested in, but we really won't know until people go to the polls and vote.
All right. Gerald D'Ambra, co-founder of ONNJ Jersey, executive producer of this very broadcast. Always great to have your insight. I know you've been as busy as a bee for the weeks leading up to this, but thanks for coming on this morning, taking the time and explaining, and we appreciate you. We'll see you this weekend.
See you Sunday.
All right, you bet. Take it easy. It's going to be fascinating. And as Gerald said, even if you just spend a few minutes dipping in and out on Sunday to see the debates, you really should, especially if you are a Garden State resident. It is now 59 degrees, 7:59. When we come back, how does artificial intelligence fit into the world of literature? We'll talk to an author who has a say about it. Also, we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Rain today, highs in the mid-60s, and you are watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings, seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And we are streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/ONNJ. We'll be right back. Very good morning to you. 8:01 right now, 59 degrees. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, and welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, and we will take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Lots of rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the day off, but he leaves us with weather prep and full forecast top to bottom of the state. Take a look, and we'll be back in 1 minute. And you are welcome back, brother. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, and that was the top to bottom Garden State forecast. Again, rain throughout much of the state of New Jersey today with highs in the mid-60s. In terms of traffic, let's take a look at the Garden State Parkway. There's a 5-mile slowdown right now between exits 145 and 150 on the GSP, all due to the weather. You can see the wet roadways, the rainy conditions. This is at exit 145 there on the right. Pardon me. So this is by the exit for I-280, takes you to East Orange, among other places. Pardon me as I clear my throat. And this is just, again, because of the roadways and volume, the wet roadways and volume, and this goes on for about 5 miles all the way to exit 150. So just give yourself some extra travel time as you hit the roadways. Other issues we have: a downed tree on Route 179 southbound, south of Mount Airy Village Road in West Amwell Township, with all lanes closed. A disabled vehicle on the Garden State Parkway southbound, south of exit 147. So on the opposite side of the road that you were just looking at, about 2 miles north of that point, that's where we have this issue with a disabled vehicle. We have a water main break. Thank you. A water main break on Route 109 northbound, south of Randolph Avenue, Woodbridge, one right lane of 2 lanes closed. EMS activity and a vehicle off the roadway on the GSP Express lanes northbound, south of exit 117, which is Route 36 in Hazlet. All lanes are open. We take a look right now at the 8095 approach to the actually, this is the Route 80. We'll say this. This is by the median at Berkshire Valley. This is because of the ongoing roadwork construction due to sinkhole issues. And just a couple of miles, maybe a mile and a half before that point, there was yet another issue with a drainage basin that caused an opening of the roadway. So that technically was not due to the underground iron mines, but was causing the same problem nonetheless, a hole in the roadways. So they have to fix all of this before they will reopen I-80 through Wharton. You could see everybody again being detoured off. And the 8095 approach to the GWB right now, upper and lower roadways moving actually fairly well considering it's a rainy morning. I think a lot of people saw the rain, decided to take mass transit. So you have about a 25-minute in time on the GWB. Look at that. The lower level on the left moving beautifully. The upper level about 15, 20 miles an hour, which at 8:05 in the morning is really not bad at all. 8:06 now, and it is time to welcome Hank Quentz, a prolific author and mentor whose no-nonsense nonfiction guides have helped countless writers navigate the challenges of writing and self-publishing. Known for his straightforward style and focus on practical tools, Hank is here to talk about his latest work, how AI fits into the creative process, and what every writer and entrepreneur should know about innovating with new technology. Good morning. Good to have you on this morning, Hank.
Hi, thank you, Ken. It's great to be here.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Well, let's start with a hot topic. Oh, thank you. Good to have you. Let's start with a hot topic. AI, of course, in creative work. And some critics say AI kills originality. It's not your thought, it's a computer's thought. Well, what's your response to those who worry that using AI could dilute or even replace creativity of humans?
It depends upon the writer, really. It's AI can replace creativity if the writer allows it. It's really up to the writer. You know, if a writer says, tells an AI app to, this is what my scene is going to be about. This is the characters who are in it. Write the scene. And if the AI will respond by writing a scene. And if the writer then accepts that scene as a finished product, then yes, AI has replaced the writer's creativity. I don't do that. If anything that I get the AI to write, I consider it a first draft and it needs revision, a lot of revision before it's my stuff, you know. The AI has a completely separate voice than I do, so I have to take what it wrote and convert it to my voice, which means a lot of editing and revising. Uh, Mostly what I use AI for is brainstorming. I get an idea, I feed it to the AI and tell it to come up with, flesh out this idea, give me more ideas on, expand this idea. And it is a wonderful tool for doing that. So,
Right. So
the
AI,
original question, yeah,
right. The beauty is you could put in a topic and AI will scour every inch of the internet for everything ever published on it and draw from that, which might give you inspiration because you may not have thought of, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then you can incorporate it in your writing. And I agree with you because I spent 30 years as a news anchor in New York City, for instance. And when you arrive 3 hours before your broadcast, whatever, there are writers who will write the first draft of all your stories. But then you sit down,
yeah,
you take that, you rework it into your own style and add facts and take things out, etc. That's what makes it yours. Otherwise, what's the point of you sitting there? You're not just a talking head, or at least you shouldn't be. So I understand that. And that's a brilliant way to use it. But unfortunately, have you, like me, seen stuff online that you know is written by AI, that you know somebody was either lazy or just looking to make a quick buck with?
yes, I have. Yeah. It's AI tends to be very wordy. It
Hmm.
doesn't give short answers. It gives very long, wordy answers, and it tends to repeat a lot of words that it uses, like nevertheless or consequently. If you read a passage that's, maybe 500 words long and it uses consequently 5 times, you're pretty sure it was written by an AI. So
Right.
yes, I've actually bought a book from Amazon that was it was an AI book. I got sucked in for 99 cents and it was really terrible.
It'll be interesting if an AI book is generated by AI, the AI on AI, and see what it writes about itself. That would be, I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure I'm not the only one to think
Probably.
of that. And speaking of books, your new book, what sparked your new book? What inspired you to write it? And how does it reflect your longstanding approach to how to
Oh,
empower other writers?
early last year, I was between projects and I was a little bored, so I decided to look into AI and see what all the fuss was about. And I played around with it for a while. And one day I just I asked it a question. I said, "What makes Ted Lasso a great character?" And the response stunned me. It was so detailed and full of so much insights. Excuse me. I was really impressed. So then I decided I tried something else, another experiment. I gave it 100-word storyline for one of my published novels and said, "Write a plot for this." And it did. It wrote a great plot. It wasn't the plot I was in my book, but if I was starting out, I would take two or three of those plot points and build a story around them. And I said, yeah, excuse me.
Mhm.
That's when I decided, AI can be really useful for writers. And soon after that, I decided I got to write a book and tell other writers, because the people I talked to had no idea what AI was. And the ones who knew what it was were afraid of it. So I said, this is a topic for a book that will be very good for writers and authors.
I love it.
And
I love it. And
that's
you've been a mentor and a
medicine
guide
of
for a
it.
lot of people. You've been a mentor and a guide, Hank, for a lot of people. What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who want to innovate in AI, especially in the publishing or content creation space?
The What you got to learn about AI is that the whole thing, it depends upon how you write a query, which is a question. This is how you communicate with the AI. If you ask it a generic question, a generic query, you'll get a generic answer. It's something you probably already know, or if it can be in a book. It's just something that's not very innovative. You've got to learn how to write a query that the AI can use. For instance, I mentioned, what makes Ted Lasso a great character. That's very specific. But if you ask it, what makes a great character, you're going to get nothing. You're going to get generic stuff that you already know. So to use AI, you've got to really learn how to write a detailed query. And it may take, you may have to revise the query several times before you can get something useful out of it. So that's the
Fascinating.
key to using AI
Yeah, so
queries.
it's just like, because it's still a computer. People forget this is a computer. It's a machine. So it's data in, data out, data in, data out. So it's what you feed it
Yeah,
is what you get. So your work has always
right.
emphasized planning and structure, which is what great authors do. You may or may not know, when I was at Channel 7, meteorologist Bill Evans was our guy, and he's written 7 books. And I asked him, he is just a voracious writer, but a voracious reader. Because that's what I asked him. I said, what makes a great author? And his answer was, a great author is a voracious reader. Do you feel the same? Do you love to read books, other people's works?
Yeah, I usually have 3 books I'm reading at the same time.
There you
One in
go.
print, one book, on my iPad, and I generally have a nonfiction book that I'm reading too. 2 fiction, one nonfiction, and that's my usual reading diet. 3 books at a time, all the time.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
That's
okay,
awesome.
reader.
And because of that, you learn without even thinking. In many cases, you learn that there is a style and a structure. So can you describe the structure and the detail necessary in writing a book? Because it's not about rambling, right? There is a structure you have to
Yeah,
have.
yeah. What most people don't understand about writing a novel or a book is that it's a long-term, multi-phase project. There's actually 5 different phases involved. You got to plan the book, you got to write the book, you got to publish the book, you got to market the book, and then there's the business aspects. And writing a book involves getting involved with all 5 of those phases. And when you start the planning, you really got to think about, how you're going to market it and what's the business aspects. So yeah, it's planning and structure is very important to me
There
anyway.
you go.
I know people who
Sure.
don't
I would
believe that.
think.
I
And
know others who don't do
any
that.
book I've written, I was going to say written. I've never written a book. Any book I've read, you can tell an organized author. In fact, if it feels disorganized and run on, you don't go back to that person. But I just
No.
sense that some of the great masters, and you're obviously very experienced and successful, that there is a structure And when you kind of realize or learn that person's structure and style, that's what makes you fall in love with certain authors. Author Hank Quentz, we'd love to have you back on again. Please, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was great having you.
Thanks for having us, Ken. This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. It sure was.
Bye.
Have a great day. It is 8:15 right now. We have 59 degrees. When we come back, will tourism rebound for the Jersey Shore? We'll speak with a professor of economics about it. Lots of rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta is off today, but he leaves us with the full Garden State forecast. And we will take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:16. We're taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the day off, well-deserved day off, but let's take a look at the full Garden State forecast from his weather prep here on New Jersey. You can see it at ONNJ.com. Take a look. Full Garden State forecast there from our meteorologist, Mike Favetta. You could see it at ONNJ.com, ONNJ.com. Just click on weather. You'll get up to the minute, updated constantly 24/7, 365 weather maps and a full forecast. Again, rain throughout the state of New Jersey today, highs in the mid-60s. In terms of traffic, we have an issue right now on the Garden State Parkway. This is at exit 145, and this is actually a 5-mile stretch of traffic. You can see because of the wet roadways. Right now you're looking on the right side of your screen. That's the exit for I-280 in East Orange, but this is an ongoing stretch of about 5 miles. And on the other side, the cars coming towards you by exit 147, we have a disabled vehicle as well. So there's a real mess on the roadways. Give yourselves plenty of extra travel time. There's also a downed tree on Route 179 southbound by Mount Airy Village Road in West Amwell Township with all lanes closed. We have a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike outer roadway northbound north of Interchange 11, which is the interchange with the Garden State Parkway and Woodbridge. The right shoulder is blocked. I feel that we have an accident or a breakdown at that point almost every day at this point for whatever reason. I hope I'm not jinxing it. Crash on the GSP southbound north of 157, which is just north of what you were looking at by about 10 miles. That's US 46 in Elmwood Park with a right lane blocked and a disabled vehicle, which I mentioned actually on the GSP southbound by 147. We also have the ongoing road work issues on I-80 east and westbound, exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. And there's the new opening by the drain basin that opened up just the other night. That is just about a mile away from what you're looking at here. This is I-80, the median at Berkshire Valley. Ongoing roadwork repairs due to all the sinkholes. The 8095 approach to the George Washington Bridge actually moving fairly well at this hour, both upper and lower roadways. In fact, you're a little bit better on the lower roadway, but both are moving pretty quickly with only about a 20-minute cross time on the GWB at this hour. Our time now is, there you go, and there it is, proof of the pudding. On the left side is lower level, on the right side is upper. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to see them moving in at this hour because usually it's bumper to bumper. As we move on now, Memorial Day weekend is approaching. All eyes, of course, turn to the Jersey Shore and what the summer season might bring for the region's economy. Will tourism rebound? Are there signs of strain or opportunity in the local job market and the hospitality sector? Joining us today is Oliver Cook, Associate Professor of Economics at Stockton University and editor of the South Jersey Economic Review. He'll be one of the expert panelists at this year's Jersey Shorecast, hosted by the Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism, where business and tourism leaders will discuss the outlook for summer 2025 and beyond. Good morning. Good to have you on, Oliver.
Thanks, Ken. Nice to be with you.
You bet. And how would you describe the overall economic health of South Jersey heading into the summer season? Are we seeing any signs of growth, or do you think there's still strain in any particular sector?
I actually think that the first quarter of the year actually held up pretty well, perhaps somewhat surprisingly. The regional economy had job growth of about 4% year on year through the first quarter, which was very good. It was relatively broad-based, probably mostly led by job gains in restaurants and bars industry, as well as the retail trade sector. The one area of the economy which is a little bit kind of interesting that did not hold up very well year on year was actually the casino gaming industry. Employment was down rather significantly. So it's a little bit odd. The casino hotels, of course, are in the hospitality industry, so too are the restaurant and bars component. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But again, as we kind of move ahead, into thinking about the summer shore season kickoff with Memorial Day weekend, it'll kind of be interesting to see what starts to happen, especially as it relates to the casino hotels.
I'm just wondering how much of that has to do with online gaming. I mean, I know it's a different experience, obviously, to show up in person and play with the big, loud, colorful machines and sitting at a table and playing blackjack. But we have online gaming in New Jersey, and I guess people who are sort of on the edge of being addicted to gambling have that as something for them as an alternative. Do you think that may have had any kind of an impact?
Yeah, there's actually the Light Institute, which you mentioned at the outset here of this section, actually just recently released its annual report on gaming in Atlantic City, and it's actually interesting. We're to the point now in the gaming industry where roughly, in terms of net revenues, about half is tied to kind of traditional so-called brick and mortar stuff, and the rest of it is not. And of course, the iGaming piece is largely responsible for the growth that and the stabilization that we have seen in the industry roughly since 2018 or so. So it's undoubtedly a big part of the gaming industry now, and I'm sure that it will continue to grow. I think in terms of the impact that the actual casinos have on the regional economy, this is obviously much more tied to kind of the brick and mortar piece and the extent to which the casinos, can get people into the properties themselves. And of course, the more successful they are doing that, the more jobs, and the larger the multiplier effects will be kind of for the regional economy.
And do you, based on your research, see any notable economic or consumer trends that we should be watching for this summer in hospitality or retail, as you mentioned? Is there some kind of a trend to look out for?
I think right now if you kind of think about where the economy is kind of nationally, I certainly think that there are a number of kind of challenges as we kind of look ahead to the summer shore. I mean, I think that just the general level of uncertainty, of course, very much a lot of this, of course, tied to the tariff uncertainty that we've seen over the last couple of months. I think that we've saw in the first quarter GDP statistics that were released a few weeks ago, consumers already starting to pull back. Consumers, which are largely responsible for about 2/3 or so of the economy, that we saw kind of slow rather dramatically from about 4% late in 2024 to closer to 1.8% or so over the first quarter. We saw kind of this very strange, perhaps not strange in the sense of given the tariff uncertainty, but in terms of what happens with businesses kind of racing to kind of stock inventory. There was a huge inventory accumulation, I think, largely tied to the tariffs. And so I think broadly, the uncertainty is going to probably weigh a little bit on what happens in terms of the summer shore season as we move ahead. And we've also heard reports, of course, of both Canadians, which have historically been kind of an important component of business for Cape May in particular, and also some kind of pullback by Western European travelers. The ITA a few weeks ago noted that Western European travel to the States, where people stay at least one night, was off about 12% year on year in March. So these are some trends that I think will probably be a little bit constitute some headwinds over the course of the summer season. And we'll have to kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, I live part of the year in South Florida, and Hollywood, Florida, specifically where I used to live, is probably this time of year, or I should say in the cold weather months leading into the spring, it's usually about 50% Canadian snowbirds, pardon me. And so what we have had in part of the season toward the end, when there was a whole conflict, of course, between the president and Canada talking about making it the 51st state, you got a lot of people who decided to leave early, who decided not to come. But then suddenly I'm hearing from friends of mine who are own hotels in Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood that now there's a resurgence. Somehow, I guess, post-election, there's been a resurgence and they're getting a huge number of bookings from Canada. I guess now that their own government issues have been resolved in Canada, there's a sense of confidence and pride again restored for the Canadians. So I'm hoping that happens for us being a New Jersey resident. I'm rooting for us, obviously, here in New Jersey. Do you think that there are any promising developments, though, or opportunities on the horizon that we may not be talking about yet for South Jersey's economy that will be beyond the summer months?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that there are a lot of efforts ongoing, longstanding for several years now, especially in light of going back to kind of this wave of casino closures that we had roughly going back to starting in really 2014. There's this retrenchment period, right, for several years. And so that kind of jump-started a lot of efforts to try to diversify the regional economy. And, probably one of the most, noteworthy to date has largely been led by the Atlantic County Economic Alliance. Lauren Moore and his folks over there have done a lot of great work over the last several years, really trying to build out very slowly and painfully, but it's really starting to, I think, kind of show some significant progress and momentum around aviation and the aerospace industry and sector more broadly. So I certainly think that that's something that we need to keep our minds on and continue to kind of help along over the next several years, because I do think in the back of several people's minds that kind of watch the local economy is the pending New York City casinos that I think a lot of folks are starting to talk about and worry about, frankly. And so, who knows, whether or not we get one downstate casino or three, which I think a lot of folks, kind of guessing at this point what it's going to be. These licenses are apparently going to be announced in December later this year. And it'll probably take, obviously, a couple of years before any large scale, New York City area casino literally, opens its doors, I would imagine, at a minimum of a couple of years. But to the extent that that's coming down the pike in the not so distant future, it really, pushes us. It should push all of us in the regional and the South regional economy to think hard about continuing efforts to diversify the economy. It's not easy. Building industries obviously doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It takes a lot of effort and a lot of stakeholders obviously involved in the process, both from Trenton to local development officials, local politicians, and others.
I'm with you, Professor, and it's just diversification is something we should have been thinking about 50 years ago. Trying to put all our eggs in the basket of gambling and casinos wasn't maybe the brightest idea, but we can only keep our fingers crossed at this point and hope. The one thing we have, though, that New York City will never have is that we have that beautiful shoreline on the Jersey Shore. So you could enjoy your beach in the day and do your gambling at night and still have a nice full vacation in just a few days. And it's an easy drive for anyone in the state. Oliver Cook, Associate Professor of Economics at Stockton University and editor of the South Jersey Economic Review. Thank you so much for being with us. Please come back again, sir.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Thank you, sir. It is 8:30. When we come back, we're getting close to primary time for the Democratic and Republican candidates for governor of New Jersey. We'll speak with a professor of politics about how the field is looking right now. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says lots of rain today, highs in the mid-60s. The full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And we now stream live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/ONNJ. We're coming right back. A very good morning. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, 59 degrees at 8:32. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Lots of rain today, all day. Highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the day off, but he's left us a detailed Garden State forecast with weather prep, something you could see 24/7, by the way, at ONNJ.com. No matter where you are in the state, take a look at your forecast. And again, the forecast, as meteorologist Mike Favetta is off today, he left us his wonderful weather prep forecast, which you could see at ONNJ.com. Just go to weather. The forecast for most of the state is going to be rain all day long with highs in the mid 60s. It again is 59 degrees now at 8:35. We check traffic. If we take a look at the Garden State Parkway, this is at interchange or mile marker 100, just north of interchange 13. And we have you can see a lot of volume there, and you can see on the this break. Did I say what did I say? I said Garden State. This is Turnpike. Excuse me. Thank you very much for that, Pam. That is on the Turnpike at mile marker 100. And you see there on the left, center left of your screen, you can see an emergency vehicle with a breakdown. So that's causing some rubbernecking, some brake checking as you come through the area. You can expect that. Just give yourselves a little extra travel time. The roadways are wet throughout the state and causing some slowdowns. We have a crash on Route 24 eastbound, east of exit 8 Summit Avenue, Route 124 in Summit, one of 3 left lanes closed, and a crash on Route 130 southbound by Route 70 in Pennsauken Township. The left lane is closed. A crash on Route 1 southbound north of 295 in Lawrence Township. The left lane is closed there. Crash on the Turnpike outer roadway northbound as well in Woodbridge Township. We have a crash on the Garden State Parkway southbound north of exit 157, Route 46 in Elmwood Park with the right lane blocked, and a disabled vehicle on the Garden State Parkway southbound south of 147 Clinton Avenue in East Orange. The right shoulder is blocked there. Water main break, Routes 1 and 9 northbound south of Randolph Avenue, Woodbridge. One right lane is closed. And EMS activity and a vehicle off the roadway, Garden State Parkway express lanes northbound south of exit 117, Route 36 in Hazlet Township. All lanes are now open, but there are volume delays through there. East and westbound I-80 at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton, continued repairs on the roadway there because of the iron mine causing sinkholes through that area. It should be open at least 1 or 2 westbound lanes sometime in the next week. Eastbound could take another 2 to 3 weeks. And there it is right there as people get off at the median at Berkshire Valley. And then the 8095 approach to the George Washington Bridge, upper and lower roadways actually moving pretty well. A 25-minute cross time into Manhattan at this hour. 8:37 is our time. The race for New Jersey's next governor heating up as candidates prepare for crucial primary debates on May 18th and May 20th, just weeks before the June 10th primary election. The debates will air right here at ONNJ and ONNJ.com. With a crowded field of Democratic and Republican contenders vying to succeed Governor Phil Murphy, who is term limited, these debates could be pivotal in shaping the race. To break down what's at stake, we're joined by Dan Cassino, professor of government and politics at Fairleigh Dickinson University and executive director of the FDU poll. Professor Cassino, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Ken. Good to talk with you.
Likewise. And the Democratic primary debate set for May 18th. Republican debate follows May 20th. This is their last chance before the vote. Who are the front runners in each party, and how might these debates shift any momentum?
So on the Republican side, I hate to say it because we, of course, like to have drama, but I think this one's pretty much over. Jack Ciattarelli was the front runner, higher name recognition, higher favorability than any of his opponents, and he got the Trump nomination. I've talked to Bill Spady about this when he was at my university not too long ago, and they were kind of banking on the idea that Trump wouldn't actually come in and endorse anybody. The fact that they're fighting over who's the Trumpiest candidate and Trump endorsed one of the candidates, I think Ciattarelli probably has this one locked up. On the Democratic side, it is a lot more unsettled. We know the top 3 are Congresswoman from the 11th District, Mikey Sherrill, the mayor of Jersey City, Steve Fulop, and the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka. And we were seeing that Ras Baraka may be fading a little bit until he got arrested by the Trump administration for trespassing in an ICE facility. And that certainly raised his profile quite a bit. So Ras Baraka, I think, is right back in this thing. Some people thought this would actually move him to the top. I'm a little more skeptical of that, but it definitely is a dogfight between Sherrill, Fulop, and Baraka. We saw that at the last debate. Up till now, these things have been very cordial affairs. Everyone just talking about how they don't like Trump, and there are great plans for what they're going to do in New Jersey. And what we saw in the last debate, and we're seeing now, is the candidates starting to go hard negative, starting to really attack each other, draw out the reasons why voters should choose them and not their opponent.
Well, what key issues do you expect then the Democratic candidates will focus on to differentiate themselves? Will it just be we hate Trump, and then when it comes to the general election, they'll have to moderate a little bit, or because they will eventually, if one of them does get elected, they'll eventually have to work with the federal administration?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be moderating their "we don't like Trump" at all. In order to win this election, look, Donald Trump's superpower is sucking all the air out of the room. Everyone is talking about Donald Trump, and when Donald Trump's not in the room, everyone's asking where Donald Trump is. So this is all they're talking about, and they're trying to be the most anti-Trump candidates. Now, we actually saw that strategy shifting a little bit, and that's largely because Ras Baraka, I think, now has a strong claim to be the most anti-Donald Trump candidate. So we did see them drawing some contrast in issues like energy. That's going to be a very hot issue, especially this summer when everyone's energy bills are going to go up by 20%. So we expect them to talk more about energy. I think Mikey Sherrill actually did herself some favors by putting out some issue stances on nuclear power that no one else was willing to do. And they're talking about NJ Transit. This has been historically Steve Fulop's best issue. He was the first candidate to come out with a really detailed transit plan. He's talking about that $10 billion extension that he wants to cancel. I'm not sure legally you can actually do that without getting the state legislature involved, but there you have it. So we are starting to get some other issues, but in the primary election, it really is who is the most progressive, who's the most anti-Trump. And we saw Baraka hitting Sherrill pretty hard on that, basically saying she voted for budgets while she was in Congress, which everyone in Congress did, and those budgets might have helped Donald Trump's campaigns, Donald Trump's priorities.
It's amazing how the Democrats are going to be talking about higher energy bills when they've been in charge of those energy constraints, if you will, and all the extra green energy taxes and whatnot. That's all been from the Democrats who've controlled both houses in Trenton for years, and they've had the governorship for now 7 years. So it's like, wake up, come on. You got to blame yourselves. But it's going to be interesting to see if the voters wake up and get that, because New Jersey has that huge group in the middle of non-committed and non-registered or non-Democrat, non-Republican, the independents, and we'll see where they go. On the Republican side, if you were on the John Bramnick or the Bill Spadea team, and you were that far behind when you had a Jack Ciattarelli at the front, what would you say that could possibly make them make an impression at these final primary debates?
Well, Spadea has really actually been doing a good strategy of saying, look, I am not going to be constrained by the state legislature. All the stuff that Bramnick or the Ciattarelli say they're going to do, they can't do it. The state legislature is never going to vote for this. So what I'm going to do if I'm Bill Spadea, I say, I'm just going to ignore the state legislature. I'm just going to pretend I'm Donald Trump and be a dictator on day one. And Spadea says all the stuff he's going to do by ignoring the state legislature, doing everything by executive action, is going to be so popular that eventually the state legislature will come around and support everything he does, which is a wild claim to make. But you know what? That's at least he's putting something out there. The issue I'd be hitting hardest, and we're seeing this both the Democratic and Republican side, is talking about electability. Both the Republicans and Democrats are terrified that they're going to lose, that they're going to nominate someone who's good for their base, but bad for the electorate overall. And so if you're trying to hit Jack Ciattarelli, you say, look, under the best possible circumstances in 2021, he still lost. So what's going to be different this time? You have anything, a Democrat is probably stronger than Phil Murphy was going into re-election in 2021 after Joe Biden had won. So anything Ciattarelli does, he's probably not going to get the high water point again. If you want different outcomes, you got to put different inputs into the system. And so I think Spadea or any of the other Republicans that are still in this could make a case for, look, we are more electable than Ciattarelli because we already tried Ciattarelli. It didn't work.
Yeah, that's a good argument. Of course, though, the other argument that could be made is the Republicans have seen a resurgence in registration in the state, even before Trump was elected, but certainly post Trump's election. And Democrats have actually lost numbers in the state of New Jersey. And again, that huge number of independents, if you take both the Republicans and the Democrats and put them together, they still don't outnumber independents. And independents can be swayed. And independents right now are being swayed very much to the right in New Jersey. You can see it. Even just from little things like road signs and things, signs on people's lawns. There is a lot in neighborhoods that have been traditionally Democrat that I've driven around in northern New Jersey. I was shocked to see as many Trump signs as I did in that last election. So it's going to be interesting to see how that translates. You've noted that New Jersey's primaries typically see very low voter turnout, usually 15% or less. Now, could the debates, especially with this wide open race and the fact that it's anyone can run for this governor's seat because we have term limits, do you think that this will bring more voter engagement, or is just voter apathy a concern? People just not paying attention?
Look, voters in New Jersey are trained to not pay attention to primaries because our primaries for a long time have been non-competitive. The party line system has made sure that the institutional parties are picking who the candidates are and presenting to voters as a fait accompli. So the voters are trained to not pay attention to primary. So we can't be excited. We can't be too worried if they don't pay attention to the primary. This is actually the reason why I'm the director of the FDU poll. I'm not polling this race, at least in terms of likely voters. Steve Fulop, after the last debate, said, you can't poll this race. And this is why, because we have no idea who's going to vote. Whenever I'm polling a race, the first thing you do is you look at your last comparable race. Our last comparable race for this in New Jersey is 20 years ago. I mean, those voters are all dead. So we don't have comparables. We have no idea who's going to vote. And none of the candidates know who's going to vote. That's why you've got such big fields, because, most of the time in an election, what happens is the candidates, they run for a while and they go, boy, I'm not getting any traction. I can't win this. And they drop out. Nobody has any good polling data. So everyone can do choose your own adventure on their polling. Their pollster says, yeah, keep throwing money at me. I think we could probably win. And as a result, what do you get? You get 6 candidates on the race on the Democratic side, including some who I don't think have very much chance of winning. But yeah, there's a plausible argument based on if you think they've got a high voter turnout, low voter turnout. I mean, hell, if you're Steve Sweeney, you go, well, I think there's lots of voters in South Jersey who are going to turn out and vote. Are there? I don't think so, but who the hell knows? We've got all these candidates in the race. Anything could happen because we don't know what the turnout looks like. Honestly, I was really hoping we were going to have a strong voter turnout and a competitive primary for the Senate race last year. That would have informed a lot of this. But, Tammy Murphy dropped out. So we're left with just trying to figure this out as best we can, and nobody has any clue. All we know is that turnout in the general election is probably about where it has been in the past. That seems pretty standard. Republicans are gaining ground in that. We don't expect to see a big blowout. I think Democrats probably still have an advantage, depending on who the nominee is. But Republicans are going to be pulling closer and closer, and that's something the Democratic Party has to deal with. And a lot of that is also discontent on the progressive side of the Democratic Party. They don't like the candidates that the institutional moderate Democratic Party has been putting out. Which is why you're seeing Fulop and Baraka doing so well. I mean, if this is 5-6 years ago, Mikey Sherrill has this nomination. There's not even a competition. So the fact that we've got this going on is showing us the depth of that dislike, the depth of the distrust in the institutional party. And also, we got to be looking at these voters. If you're a Democrat, you've got to be thinking about these voters in Passaic County, especially Middle Eastern North African voters. They just stayed home in 2024. And you got to figure out a strategy to get them back out there. And you got to revive the turnout machines in Essex County, especially in Newark, that just aren't there anymore. Union County still turning people out. Camden County still turning people out. But Essex County has just fallen off the map. And boy, if you're a Democrat running statewide, I don't know how you win if you don't have a turnout machine going up in Essex County.
A friend of mine used to work as a pollster in New York State many years ago on Long Island, and he said that he was a pollster as well. This is going back 30 years. And he said being a pollster is a lot like being a court jester in the days of the kings. You want to entertain the king, and if you tick off the king, he'll take your head off. So it's a very difficult balance. You have to give them the information they need, but at the same time, you don't want to give them information they don't want, or else you're gone. So what you said was very profound and made a lot of sense. Dan Casino, professor of government and politics at Fairleigh Dickinson University, executive director of the FDU poll. It was great to have you on today. Please come back as the silly season ramps up for the state of New Jersey.
Would love to come back and have a great day.
You bet. You too. Take care. It is 8:48. We have 59 degrees. Rain today, highs in the mid-60s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta is off today, but he has left us the full Garden State forecast. We'll have that in a moment. Plus, we'll take your calls. Just a few minutes left in the show, so we would like to hear from you at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:49. We're taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Rain today throughout the state, highs in the mid-60s. It is 59 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the day off, but he left us the full ONNJ forecast from his weather prep. Let's take a look. and that is meteorologist Mike Favetta's weather prep, which you can see exclusively here at ONNJ.com, 24/7, 365. You can see radars and get the forecast at your fingertips. ONNJ.com, then click on weather, and you will see all the forecasts specifically for your area as well. Mike does a great job with that, so that's fantastic. We have 59 degrees here right now at 8:52, and we check the traffic in the area. Of course, Pam, you'll take the shot anyway, Pam. This is the Garden State Parkway. Literally, Pam and I were talking, what is it, Pam? 30 seconds ago? That left lane was almost stopped. And of course, when we go to take it on the air live, it's moving perfectly, and you got people in that leftmost spot there flying by. But nonetheless, there is rain on the roadways, wet roadways. Give yourselves extra travel time. This happens to be mile marker 116.6 north of exit 116 on the Garden State Parkway. And everything is kind of going slow. People are checking the brakes a lot and taking it easy because of the wet roadways. We have a crash investigation and vehicle off the roadway on the GSP Express lanes, northbound south of exit 117, which is Route 36 in Hazlet Township. All lanes are open, though. Crash on the Turnpike inner roadway. Of course, I just moved my data here. Okay, inner roadway, northbound south of interchange 8, which is East Windsor Township. The left shoulder is blocked. Crash on the New Jersey Turnpike, Western Spur northbound north of interchange 15E, 1 and 9 in Newark with the right shoulder blocked. We have a crash on Route 130 southbound by Route 70 at Pennsauken Township, 1 left lane of 2 lanes closed. A water main break on routes 1 and 9 northbound south of Randolph Avenue and Woodbridge with 1 right lane closed. Excuse me. And delays on the Garden State Parkway northbound from north of exit 155B, which is Passaic in Clifton, to south of exit 159 Elmwood Park. All lanes open, but a good 3-mile delay due to volume. Inbound Lincoln and Holland tunnels are both 20 minutes at this point. Inbound GWB is only about 25 minutes. And there's still the ongoing road work repair on I-80 east and west, exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. You can see the construction vehicles there, and you can see Route 15 off to your right. Route 15 actually moving pretty well at this hour, considering the closure on the highway. We had another opening of the roadway. It wasn't a sinkhole this time. It was a sewer basin just about a mile away from the spot of the sinkholes, as if they didn't have enough to worry about. They're still hoping that within a week they can open 1 or 2 westbound lanes. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Our director Pam just chuckled in my ear as I said that. Pam, ye of little faith. 8:54, and of course the house fire that we had been talking about in Washington Township for several days. It has now been ruled a murder-suicide, that by the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office. Early Sunday, police and firefighters responded to a blaze on Tranquility Court where a man believed to be the tenant was found dead in the living room with a handgun. His death ruled a suicide. A woman found on a bed died from a gunshot wound to the head before the fire. Accelerant and a tampered gas line were discovered. Neighbors expressed shock, and the investigation continues. Excuse me. Anyone with information urged to contact the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office. 8:55, Newark Liberty International Airport faced delays Monday night as only 3 air traffic controllers were scheduled hourly at a Philadelphia radar center, TRACON, far below the target of 14. Only 3 people when they should have 14. That according to the FAA. The staffing shortage, coupled with ongoing runway construction and recent technical issues, has slowed flights, frustrating travelers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy insists safety remains the priority with traffic management measures in place. The FAA is grappling with a national controller shortage, and experts say while safety isn't compromised, delays are likely to persist. And we have a New Jersey courtroom with emotions running high as Edward Johnston, a drunk driver, was sentenced for killing 8-year-old Javier Velez in 2023 during a crash. Johnston was driving 107 miles an hour and struck the boy's parked car during a family fishing trip in Absecon. Javier's mother, Kayla Smith, brought his ashes to the courtroom, vowing to keep his memory alive. Her advocacy inspired what is Javi's Law, and that aims at detaining similar offenders and suspending their licenses. Excuse me. The bipartisan bill has Senate support and could reach the governor's desk by January. And chemical giant 3M will pay New Jersey up to $450 million to settle claims of PFAS contamination in Salem and Middlesex counties, marking the state's largest such settlement. Attorney General Matthew Platkin called it an historic win, holding polluters accountable for tainting water with these forever chemicals linked to cancer and developmental issues. The settlement addressing contamination near DuPont's Deepwater and Sayreville plants lets 3M avoid a trial for next week. New Jersey officials vow to continue pursuing other companies responsible for PFAS pollution across the state. And that does it for this edition of On New Jersey Mornings. Excuse my throat, getting over COVID and trying to make it work. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says we will have rain throughout the day, north to south, east to west in New Jersey, highs in the mid 60s. That is On New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday, May 14th. I'm Ken Rosato. It is currently 59 degrees. And remember, pardon me, you could stream us on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we stream live on Rumble and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. We'll catch you again tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Tell all your friends about us if you liked us. If you didn't like what you saw, keep it our little secret, you and me. I'll take you out for a Diet Coke later. Till then, have a great day.